Hello everybody, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. This is the first video for Tuesday. I don't know if there's going to be another video posted today, especially as I've got a few projects I'm working on. But this is going to be probably the last, or one before last, Cavalier related video. This is more of a kind of like champions I'm using, processes, and then the last video I'm going to do on Cavalier Difficulty is kind of like full thoughts, especially with a lot of node changes, options, criticisms, things I liked about it, things I didn't, and feedback I've given Kabam. But this video is not about that. This video is about 3.1 and some of the champion options that you can take against it. And I've got one more path left of it, as well as some of the others. I'm literally like nearly done with them. So it's been fun to do some of them, but it hasn't been fun for others, and that's something to kind of point out. So what's 3.1 all about? 3.1's nodes situated around Guardians and as well Mercenaries, which is kind of like a very slim pocket of champions to choose, even more so because the element of this is that when you inflict a bleed passive to the defender whenever you inflict a stun debuff. Kind of annoying for the setup in any case, because whenever the defender performs the first attack in any combo, the defender is stun immune until the attack ends. This is one of the ones that falls into like, there's a lot of things I feel Kabam missed the point with this one, and some of the champion options end up being non-tag related that are better. And I went through 3 different stages, and you could even go through 4 different stages on taking this down. You've also got an unstoppable buff every 4 seconds, so that's another thing to kind of contend with very early on. And as well, it's a case of like you get the crossfight bonuses, crossfight charge, so improve your attack rating, and when you inflict a bleed effect. And this is the problem, that it's very narrow with coverage. Now, champion options can be seen on screen, and here's the thing, with the hashtag mercenary section, having bleed based debuff champions to throw, or at least kind of like do stunning champions to kind of play into that. Like Luke Cage will, off special attacks, do a stun debuff. You'll also have Gwenpool, who does bleeds quite rapidly, and as well will do a stun debuff at certain points when it ticks over, which you're going to see a little bit of footage of in a moment. But the thing with this is, it's the coverage. If Kabam expanded into different areas of debuffs, like Shock or Incinerate, then maybe it kind of puts into Black Widow Deadly Origin and Massacre. But that's not the case. But getting those bleed debuffs quickly and quickly rotating is vitally important. I think more so because the node and the way that the champion is very much kind of stun immune at the start will throw other champions your way of options. And again, even more so when it comes to suppressing that unstoppable, it kind of points you to champions right outside the box. And those champions right outside the box will be those slow debuff champions to suppress unstoppable, quick rapid champions of rotating around bleed, so like Nick Fury or Black Widow Deadly Origin, Black Widow Clairvoyance, sorry, that is able to do that. You know, Sorcerer Supreme, again for the slow debuff, and yeah, like suppression of the unstoppable, and just a really good champion. But also there's like, you know, there's other champions, stagger champions, Dr. Doom, for example. There's loads. Bleed debuff champion that's quite good that I used quite a bit was Apocalypse. But then there is more value of counteracting that stun immunity right at the beginning of the fight. And unfortunately, and I have to explain this kind of as we go on, as we see some footage, but yes, White Magneto is actually a great option because of that passive parry. But there are some limitations to that if you're not willing to rank up the champion. But it is good for about 3 fights leading up to the end boss, which is Nick Fury. Right, let's roll some footage now. On screen, you're going to see, first of all, playing into the node. Now, I have done the passive parry on this one, mainly because the Spider-Gwen fight is normally like a bit rough without any kind of evade suppression champions. But you can see top right hand corner, I've got that little bleed effect type thing, which allows me to then benefit from the crossfight, which is then you can see top left hand corner, spicy amount of crossfights are being built. And this is good. When this works well, it works well. But at the same time, it's not going to be overly beneficial because most of the champions that are better counters are non-tag champions that you're using. This is why you kind of look at Apocalypse, and Apocalypse is a great champion because it's parry, heavy, and then you're doing a bleed effect, and the time that it's on is actually a longer time frame, which helps with the suppression of the unstoppable. So that's really good. That's something that I'm quite, you know, happy that I've got these other options, but you know, not every other player has these other options, and it's disappointing as well from Kabam's perspective if players are using non-tagged version of champions to take down the content. Yes, it does speak to a player's intelligence and logic to take something that deals with it, but it's not exactly what I think Kabam would want. It goes back to the Variant 8 situation of taking champions that were unspecific to take down the enemy boss, the Venom Pool boss, which just, again, like, why build the content around a hashtag theme if the champions aren't going to be used? But in any case, I digress. Let's kind of like focus on what we see here. And the great thing about Black Widow Clairvoyant is she's a complete package for this. The bleed debuff rotation is excellent to suppress the unstoppable, and as well when it comes to the SP2, if you make a mistake, hey, you can regen back. So you've got something like you know, a get out of jail free card for yourself, so you can like get on with a fight. You don't have to worry so much, and I love that. I love the fact of having a forgiving champion. But as well, there are other options, because there are, again, it plays not just about bleed, there's also stagger champions and nullification champions, and yeah, just like buff suppression champions, which, you know, Black Widow Clairvoyant is great for. But then you've got the likes of Doctor Doom, and you're building up quite easy to rotate around, getting stagger on the enemy, so they're not building up that unstoppable. And at the same time, yes, it's not really playing into certain things, but as well, this is something to point out. You just saw that I got hit, right? That's important to mention because it goes into the next section. As I said, we're bridging into things and we're telling a story right here why there are better options. And that's when it's all about the passive stun option with the pre-revive Magneto. Now, if you don't use Magneto, which I did not use, I used him for 3 fights out of, say, the 5 fights on a path. Why is that, Richard? Well, I'm not willing to rank up a champion just yet. I probably will rank 5 my White Magneto towards the end of the year, but I've got plans for my rank ups, so I don't want to waste the resources just yet. But if you have 3 fights out of the 5 fights that are stress-free because you're able to passive stun, because that's the other point, if you don't know already, the enemy champion will be immune to stun when it does its first part of the combo. That's really annoying and breaks up the process. But the great thing about this is, and I had to cut down the footage that we just saw because it's just long-winded fights and it's very boring and it takes the speed and momentum away, especially because I run non-suicides. It means that the speed and momentum is not there. But the speed and momentum and the process of rotation is better with the passive stun that you get from White Magneto. So if you've got a 3-star version, hey, you're in luck. I don't know if there's a 2-star version that benefits from that, but in any case, whatever. The fact is, it's a really cool option. I used it so much, and it kind of like was the saving grace of this bit, because this was actually quite boring. I hated 3.1 because I found it incredibly boring on process, and just like it's just slow and just dragged, especially because, again, like the tags, like how Command wanted the tags to be, it just felt like, well, we're not using the tags. There's no point using those tag champions because they don't rotate favorably. Gwenpool, I even had to get luck when it comes to rotating around getting a bleed debuff. There was one time, I think for a good minute into a fight, I wasn't getting a bleed debuff, and I'm like, well, that's the node. But in any case, like, I digress. Black Widow Clairvoyant comes into her own a bit more because then she can be on the front foot and be more aggressive, and I love that. I love being aggressive with Black Widow Clairvoyant, especially if we're going circling around the bleed debuff and we're gaining something back. Granted, that should have been a parry and then throw the special attack because, hey, Daredevil's going to evade it, of course. But the thing is, I'm still alive, and if I make a boo-boo, I make a mistake, and I'm still alive, it doesn't really matter. Not at all. But yeah, it's still great to kind of like feel that, okay, Black Widow Clairvoyant is a saving grace, and as well, White Magneto literally just like saves this content of being like from slow to fast. So yeah, if you kind of like got a White Magneto, then hey, you know, good news to have him. But then there's also, like, you got to think about options for the boss. Now, I've been trying several out, and I've found that Rogue was actually pretty fun, especially if you can be quite aggressive. There's some nice kind of like damage that's kind of pinged back to him. I think that's from the SP1, from the lifesteal, and that extra bit of damage through there. But it's like it's a nice kind of sustainable rotating champion. Being a mutant champion, you can still, when you do a well-timed block, take away a tactical charge. But there's a kind of I think sometimes this feels like a risk factor, but as well it's sustainable, because that's the thing. If you got that disorient on you, and for me, I normally used Apocalypse, but I had to use whatever I had. And also I had to consider the fact of if you put a debuff on the enemy, I think a bleed one, bleed, shock, and I want to say poison, you get it back. So you have to be very careful. With Apocalypse, I was rotating around the SP2. Unfortunately, I don't have that footage to kind of showcase and show, but the great thing about having Black Widow Clairvoyant, similar situation, in that the champion is immune to bleed. So again, like, you can rotate around. You just got to be very careful of like tactical charges. But still, it was fun to check out different options, because at the end of the day, you don't really have to kind of go down one route. Would it have been better if I had Suicide Masteries for this? Of course it would have been. But I kind of like, at the end of the day, you use what you got. And that's the kind of the emphasis I want to say. It's like I just used what I had to take down Nick Fury the best I can, and also kind of like less stress, so to speak. And you know, at the end of the day, if it's stupid and it works, then it isn't stupid. So there you go. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, there we go. That was a little video dissecting 3.1. Hope you enjoyed it. What have been your options that you've used? And I will be doing the last path of this as well as some other final paths on the stream tonight. So thanks to everybody who came across to the stream last night. Hopefully we're going a bit longer, especially because my throat was kind of like killing me then. It's a little bit better now, but you know, I'm still having fun kind of grinding out some content and wanted to make this video. And we'll be doing a full dissection of Cavalier Difficulty on Thursday, I think, after 100% it. Just going to give like a full kind of like, I don't know, theme of it. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Check out some other stuff located on screen. Big announcement on stuff tomorrow when it comes to the celebration events. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.